Wonder Festival is kind of like Good Smile Company's E3. They put out all kinds of announcements for all their products. And seeing as I'm a little bit of a fan, I went ahead and put together a list of 33 Figma ideas I'd love to see at WonderFest 2020. I'm going to start with the ones that I think are most likely and then work my way up to complete pipe dream. Also, to speed things up, I'm going to go ahead and group the figures together by franchise. First up, Figma, Link and Zelda, Breath of the Wild version. This one's a bit of a no-brainer. I'm fairly confident that this will get announced, maybe not at this Wonder Festival, but sometime soon, as these figures already have Nendoroids, as well as these are very popular designs for a very, very popular game. And with Breath of the Wild 2 on the horizon, I would be shocked if these figures did not get made. Plus, with Zelda specifically, they could do a really fun alternate hairpiece, so that way you can have her in both her Breath of the Wild 1 and Breath of the Wild 2 appearances. And we're just kind of overdue for another Zelda Figma, because we have plenty enough Links. Don't get me wrong, I would love to see Breath of the Wild Link as well, but I would honestly want Breath of the Wild Zelda more. Next up, more Pokemon. Good Smile's done a pretty good job of making the Pokemon trainers into Figmas, and I'd love to see that going. With Sword and Shield, we've gotten so many good character designs, and I would really be shocked if we didn't see Gloria as a Figma. I also would really hope that they make Marnie into a Figma as well. Her character design is just absolutely top tier stuff. And I would think that her character is popular enough to warrant a Figma. I also would really like to see Dawn from the Diamond Pearl Platinum era, as well as Cynthia. Now, I think Dawn would probably be announced a little bit later on, as we got the Diamond and Pearl remakes somewhere on the horizon, and maybe they would announce it to go along with that. And I would really, absolutely love it if they did one of Cynthia, especially considering they already did a Nendoroid of her, so I would hope that that means that she's popular enough to justify making a Figma. I mean, come on, she's like one of the coolest Pokemon characters of all time. But yet again, Gen 4 was my first Pokemon game, so I'm a little biased. Next up, Figma, Wiz, and Yunyun from Konosuba. The main squad of Konosuba finally all have Figmas. I personally am very much looking forward to Figma Darkness in the mail, and I hope that they keep this line going with the popular supporting characters Wiz and Yunyun. They still have a pretty strong presence within the show itself, especially with the Megu movie and all that. And seeing as they've got Nendoroids, I think they'd be pretty likely to get Figmas if they were to continue making Konosuba figures. Alright, so let's move into some territory that is a little less likely, but Good Smile has worked with these IPs in the past. First up, Kill la Kill's Ryuko Matoi and Satsuki Kiryuin school uniform version. I absolutely adore Kill la Kill. It's one of my favorite anime, and I'm sure a lot of other people would say the same. And we do have Figmas of Ryuko and Satsuki in their battle forms, but unfortunately they are 3 lewd 5 my collection. And that's why I would love to see a school uniform version of these Figmas made. It's not unheard of. I mean, heck, the 5 main girls of Madoka Magica got their schoolgirl versions, so why not Kill la Kill? Especially considering that Mako got her Figma in December of 2019, so it's not unreasonable to think that Good Smile would still be willing to continue the line. Alright, so now let's talk about one of the most anticipated releases of 2020. That's right, Eva 3+1. My friends and I like to joke that Eva 4, or 3+1, was the Half-Life 3 of anime, that basically was never going to happen. But, you know, and then Eva 3+1 got announced for 2020, and then Half-Life Alyx got announced, so Half-Life's not dead. And then Log Horizon Season 3 got announced out of nowhere. We truly do live in the strangest timeline. Anyhow, to go along with Ava 3+1, I would love to see Figmas of Shinji and Kaoru. Now, I know that Figmas and Good Smile in general are biased towards waifus, but come on, you gotta fill out at least the main cast. Now, Kaoru isn't as likely in my mind, you know, what with him going and committing threat level midnight.
Far and away the most expensive shot of the movie, but it was integral to the story.
But even so, I would at least hope that they make a Figma of Shinji, and as kind of my wish list, I would also love to see an updated design of Asuka, just because her 2.0 design is just bad. Alright, now for some Figmas that would murder my wallet. Figma Full Metal Alchemist. Now, I know that Edward Elric and Alphonse Elric do already have articulated figures thanks to Reveltech, but I just would love to see the smoothness that you would see from Good Smile in figures of Edward and Alphonse. But what I really want to see is Figmas of Riza and Mustang. My personal two favorite characters of the series, best ship, changed my mind. And just, you know, a guy can dream, right? They have Nendoroids. Come on, like, give Figma a little bit more love, will ya? Alright, time to grit your teeth because these next ones are coming from Gurren Lagann. Having the main trio, Simon, Kamina, and Yoko, would be amazing Figmas. Gurren Lagann is one of my favorite anime of all time, and if they were to announce Figmas of these characters, I would pre-order in a heartbeat. We do have an articulated figure of Yoko thanks to Reveltech. It, you know, is Reveltech. They recently made Nendoroids of the main trio and even made a Gurren Lagann for them to stand on top of, so I don't think it's impossible. Alright, it's time for the bonus idea. Good Smile does bonuses, so I'm gonna follow suit. A Nendoroid I would love to see is Nendoroid Galacta Knight. Kirby Superstar Ultra is one of my top DS games of all time. I absolutely loved it as a kid, and to this day remains one of my favorite games in the entire Kirby series. The fight with Galacta Knight is one that is hard to forget, with an amazing boss theme, a sick design, and overall a challenging fight. I would think that making a Nendoroid Galacta Knight is pretty easy, considering there's already Nendoroid Meta Knight. They just have to tweak some parts, slap on different paint, and bam! You got yourself Nendoroid Galacta Knight. It's so easy even, I'm considering buying a bootleg of Nendoroid Meta Knight to make my own as a custom. Wait, what do you mean there's no bootlegs of Nendoroid Meta Knight? Frick! Okay, now it's time to go back to Figmas, and this time, we're shooting for the moon. These ideas, I have little to no confidence in them ever being made, but boy would it make me happy. This next idea is probably the only one that I think might happen. Maybe. The ship from Exevius. Now, just to put this in a little bit of context, Figma has been doing figures based off of illustrations of classic video game ships, such as Thunder Force 4, and more recently, Galaxian and Galga. You know how those old video games would have really sick cover art that, like, the video game's actual graphics vaguely represented? Well, I really respect them going, you know what? Screw it. Let's make a figure of that. So if we're gonna stick with, like, old school classic video games, I thought, why not the next in the series be the ship from Exevius? Sure, it's no Galga or Galaxian, but I figure it's on par with Thunder Force 4. Plus, it's just a really cool, unique design that would definitely add to the roster. And you know what? Why stop there? My next idea for a Figma I'd love to see is the strike suit. from Strike Suit Zero. Strike Suit Zero was an amazing indie game that is genre-defining, in my opinion, for space dogfighting. Stellar controls, excellent gameplay, out-of-this-world soundtrack. And, I mean, come on, it's pretty anime. If you enjoy dogfighting games, check out Strike Suit Zero, especially the director's cut is so worth it. Now, I know you're not here for video game recommendations, but the next kind of follows along in terms of amazing indie game. The next Figma I would love to see is Rider, also known as The Stranger from Fury. Once again, top-notch gameplay, pretty good visuals, and absolutely banging soundtrack. Seeing as the Kickstarter for a figure of Rider failed some years back, this is not gonna happen by any stretch of the imagination. But hey, this is a wish list. I feel like it would be an amazing fit for Figma, because the design and aesthetic is just anime as all get out. Come on, he's a space samurai. Alright, now for 8 ideas in one, the next is Figma Ruby, as in Team Ruby and Team Juniper. Now, I did take a look at the Medicos Ruby Rose earlier in this channel, but it wasn't until a couple of months ago that I found out that they had planned to make an entire line of these figures, which is why I was disappointed to hear that it was cancelled. You know, if Rooster Teeth could somehow strike a deal with Good Smile to get Figmas made of these characters, I would probably buy all of them. Especially Pyrrha, because Pyrrha deserves better. Okay, now for a bit of an unorthodox idea. Figma Elizabeth from Bioshock Infinite. Now, Good Smile has had indirect dealings with the IP. They distributed 3 Zero figures made of the Big Daddies from both Bioshock 1 and 2. So, much like a crack-shipping fangirl, I used that tiny thread of relationship between the two to come up with the idea of Good Smile making a Figma Elizabeth. And finally, last but certainly not least, Figma Pathfinder from Apex Legends.
Exciting!
You know, Good Smile recently announced an Android of Fortnite of all things, so I suppose this isn't entirely out of the realm of possibility. Apex Legends is the only battle royale that I actually really enjoy, and that's why I'm still playing it to this day. Pathfinder is probably my favorite character from Apex Legends, alongside Mirage and I guess Gibraltar? He's pretty cool too. Of course, if they were to make Figmas of Apex Legends, I would love to see the entire line, just because all of those characters are just so good. I love their character designs. And if they were to do Apex Legends Figmas, I would be astonished if they didn't do one of Wraith, just because of how stupid popular her character is. But if I were to have to choose only one to get a Figma made of, I'd choose Pathfinder, because they made pretty good Figmas of Atlas and Peabody, so I figured they could do our boy Pathfinder justice. Oh, and also while we're wishing for things, Titanfall 3. Please! Were there any ideas on this list that you'd also like to see? I'm gonna go ahead and drop a link to Good Smile's suggestion page, and who knows, maybe it might just happen. Also, don't forget to let me know in the comments about ideas you'd like to see, ones from this list that you think might happen, etc. I'm very much looking forward to Wonder Festival and all of the announcements it'll bring, although I'm pretty sure that it will murder my wallet. But what else is new? So I will catch you all next time.